All right, this is your notes for percent bar graphs and circle graphs. So categorical data is data that can be divided into categories based on the attributes of the data. You can summarize categorical data by using the mode. Remember, mode is the most, the one that occurs the most. Relative frequency is the ratio, remember ratios can be written as fractions, of the number of times a category is represented to the total number of pieces of data. So it's like the part out of the whole, essentially. It is often expressed, excuse me, as a percent. A relative frequency table shows the I'm drawing a blank. Sorry. Relative frequency table shows the wow, I am drawing a blank. A relative frequency table shows the ratio, or no, I know this. I don't know why I'm saying that. A relative frequency table shows the percent, of values in each category. A percent bar graph shows the relative frequency or percents of each category in a single bar. Remember, the total percent should always be 100. Always, always, always. So it should always add up to 100. Okay, so if I'm filling out this frequency table, all right, I'm going to take my number, memorize a fraction, then a decimal, then a percent. Oh, FDP. Don't forget that. Okay, FDP. So, to write it as a fraction, remember it's the part out of the whole. Well, the part, there's 4 dogs out of a total of how many? Well, I need to add that. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 2 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So that's 4 out of 10. If I want to change that fraction to a decimal, I'm going to typo. So top in, bottom out, add a decimal, take it up in a 0. 10 won't go into 4, but it goes into 40, 4 times exactly. So that would be 0.4. And then to change a decimal to a percent, remember I move it 2 times to the right. So 1, 2 gets me 40%. Now, let's do the same thing with cats. So there are 3 cats out of a total of 10. When I typo that, top in, bottom out, I get 0.3. 0.3 is the decimal, and then I have to move it, so that's 30%. Same thing with farmed animals, so 2 out of 10, there's 2 out of a total of 10. Top in, bottom out, add your decimal, take it up in a 0. 10 won't go into 2, but it goes into 20 2 times exactly. So that would be 0.2, and then I'm going to move it, and I get 20%. And then cage pets is 1 out of 10. So top in, bottom out, add your decimal, take it up in a 0. 10 won't go into 1, but it goes into 10 1 time exactly. So 0.1, then I move it, and get 10%. So we really have to bring back FDP when we're doing these guys. So remember, your fraction is the part out of the total. So 4 out of 10. This is 3 out of the 10. To change a fraction to a decimal, we typo, top in, bottom out. And then to change a decimal to a percent, we move it 2 times to the right. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take these percents, and first off, you're going to check to make sure this adds up to 100. So 40 plus 30 is 70, 70 plus 20 is 90, and 90 plus 10 is 100. So now that I've double checked that, I know my relative frequency, or my percent, is correct, I'm going to actually graph it. So if I look here, it looks like each one of these bars, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Each one of these is worth 10%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just color in different colors my 4 different categories. So dogs is 40%, so I'm going to color in 4 of these bars. Cats is 30%, so that's another 3, 10, 20, 30. Farmed animals is 20%, so that's 2 bars, 10, 20. And then last but not least is going to be my caged pets. And that's only 10%, so that's 1 bar. Your percent bar graph should always add up to 100. It should fill up all 100 slots. Okay, we can also represent a percent bar graph in a percent circle graph. So I can take these same percents and I can put them in a circle graph. So I know, and this is just get as best as you can, I'm going to try and cut this into 10 sections. I don't know how well that's going to work for me, especially since I'm using a pen, but let's see what I can do here. So, 1, this isn't going to be great, 2, 3, 4, oh no, this isn't going to be good at all, sorry. I recommend doing this with a pencil, Exhibit A, not very good. Okay, so let's do dogs again. It's going to be 4 of these sections, so that would be these. The cats would be 3 of the sections. So 1, 2, 3. The farmed animals is 2 of the sections. And then the cage pets is 1 of the sections. So get it as close as you possibly can. I do recommend using a pencil to try and section those out as much as possible. I know you can't be perfect, but try and be as close as possible. Okay, so let's do another one. Refer to the double percent bar graph to the right. So this bar graph is already made for us. We need to figure out which relative frequency table best describes this data. All right, so seniors in the first game and the last game. So here's the first game, here's the last game. 100% and 100%. So 100% would be the entire graph, and purple is not the entire graph. It's not 100% of this bar. So right now, this one's not looking so hot. Let me check this other one over here. Let's start with freshmen at the bottom because they're blue. 15%. If I go from 0 to 50, that's probably about the 25 mark. Maybe like right here. Exactly, maybe a little lower. So 15%, that blue is a little lower than that. That makes sense. 35%, the blue is a little higher than 25, so that checks out. 30% and 20%. Well, if I go from, let's see, 20, I'm sorry. Oops, I started on the wrong end. So we did 15 and 25. Now let's look at 35 and 20. Well, if I add these together, 35 and 15 is 50. So between the blue and the red, I should be at 50. So that's correct. 20 and 25 would be about 45. I don't know about that. Well, I don't think either one of these is perfect, but looking at this, this one is definitely not right. So this one's going to be my only option. This best represents, so it doesn't say perfectly, but best describes would be this one right here. This is a common mistake here that people see seniors is at the top at 100%, so that must be the grade or the percent. But remember, all of your percents here have to add up to 100, and that definitely doesn't add up to 100, and neither does that. So this would be your best option. Number 2, refer to the circle graph at the right that shows the percentage of people that prefer different flavors of ice cream. If 150 people were surveyed, how many of them preferred chocolate ice cream? Well, this is asking me to make a prediction or to find out a missing number. So when I'm given a percent and a whole, I can set up a proportion. Remember, the proportion is always percent over 100. So I know 100 goes here. And they want me to figure out chocolate ice cream. So if I look at chocolate, that's 41%. Then I'm trying to figure out how many out of 150 would like chocolate ice cream based on these percentages. So let's solve our proportion. We're going to do 150 times 41. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. Add a 0. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 1 plus 2 is 6. Let's add down. You get 6,150. Now I have to take 6,150 and divide it by 100. 100 won't go into 6 or 61, but it goes into 615 6 times. 6 times 100 is 600. Subtract, you get 15. Bring down your 0. 100 goes into 150 one time. Subtract 100, you get 50. I need to keep going, so I'm going to add a decimal, take it up, and then I can add a 0. 100 goes into 500 5 times. Okay, so x equals 61.5, but since I'm talking about people, okay, you can't have half of a person. So we'll either tell you to round up or round down, but since you can't have half of a person, I'm going to say go ahead and round down to a total of 61 people. Okay, so that is how you find the x in a percent proportion. You got to remember that from back earlier on in the year when you're given a whole and you're asked to make a prediction about another number of people and you're given the percent, you can fill out a percent proportion. Also, when you're up here on your frequency tables, remember your FDP. Remember when you're drawing a percent circle graph or a percent bar graph that has to add up to 100, so you can double check here. It should equal 100%, and it does, so we're all good. When you're determining which table best matches a percent bar graph, whether it's a single one or a double one, just remember your percents have to add up to 100. So that's 50 and 50, that's 100, so that checks. This is like, that's 70, 70 plus 80 is 150, plus 100, that's 250%. That's not possible, so it can't be this one. Like, you can automatically rule that one out. It's a common misconception, though, because since this says 100 and that purple bar goes to the top of 100, people think that's what that represents, but it does not, so be careful.